I'm so unlucky when it comes to Syngoniums. It seems like everyone else are doing so well with it. And yes, Syngoniums are one of the first plants that I managed to kill somehow when I started my plant journey, when I really got into plant collecting back in 2022. Whenever I share my experience with Syngoniums, you guys in the comments tell me how it's so easy for you. You guys even overwater it and it seems to be doing just fine. However, on my end, my story is very different. I did get into kind of a Syngonium craze. I was pretty new to plant collecting, and so I bought a bunch of baby Syngonium plants because they were very inexpensive. So I thought it would be a nice way to, start up my collection. And they were doing pretty well initially. And they were growing, but I think it was coincidentally also the fall season transitioning into the winter season when I got them. And so, being that I was still kind of relatively new to indoor plant keeping, um, I just overwatered it and it suffered from root rot. And I tried many different ways to try and save them, but unfortunately, they pretty much all succumbed to the rot and they died. I do have one Syngonium left. For the foreseeable future, I have just kind of like banned myself from getting another Syngonium. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Who knows in the future? But for now, I've got my eyes set on other plants. And the next plant on my death list is a spider plant. Now, this plant, yeah, another plant that was supposedly easy. Like, you find articles everywhere saying that it's one of the easiest plants out there, and my experience has been anything but easy. So I got mine from a big box store, and it wasn't long until I started being dissatisfied with this plant because every time it's just after no matter how much water I give it, it would just be limp, like it was thirsty again. And the worst thing about it is when it gets limp, the where the plant bend, where the leaf bends, it snaps. It snaps on that part of the leaf. Once it snaps, not only will you get browning on that part, but the leaf will not perk back up anymore because it just doesn't have the structure to do it anymore. I did try to look into what the problem is, and I did identify that the problem was it was root bound. This spider plant that I got was pretty much root bound because 1/3 of the pot was basically all just roots. It was just like packed udon noodles under there. So I thought, okay, it just needed to be repotted and it's gonna be problem solved, right? Right? Well, no, because I repotted it, made sure it had ample space for the roots to grow. It just deteriorated. It just went downhill faster from that point on, and it just doesn't exist anymore, is all I'm gonna say. But as for me, I am never gonna get a spider plant again. Been there, done that. Thank you. That's it. Moving on. And the next plant that perished in my care is a Phenopsis Orchid, which in my defense, I was not really prepared to take care of. It was like a gift to my mom. Well wishes because she had surgery at that time last year, and so my mom passed it on to me to take care of. And yes, it just did not go well. The plant, it just suffered root rot, and I tried to save it, but the root rot just wouldn't stop. And then on top of that, it also got mealybugs out of nowhere. And I did also try to treat the mealybug problem, but they just keep coming up. So at that point, I was just like, forget it. It's out. I cannot take care of this one. I'm not prepared for this. So maybe next time. So yes, I had to toss it away. And the fourth plant that died under my care is the silver lace fern, or the Pteris evergamiensis. And this one, I think I just had underwatered. I didn't notice until I just saw that the leaves were just all wilted. And then I think I hit the nail on the coffin when I pretty much trimmed all the leaves. And I thought that if I just trim all the leaves, new ones will come out, no problem. But unfortunately, nothing grew back up. So I'm actually not sure if me trimming the leaves, all of the leaves off, was what killed the plant, or perhaps it was already dead to begin with. So I guess I will never know for sure the cause of death, but that's just another plant death under my hands. And speaking of ferns, I managed to kill yet another fern, and this one is a Blacknum Silver Lady. I loved this plant, but this one I got, I think, in the middle of winter, and it was doing so well initially again, and it was also growing a lot of roots out of the bottom of the pot, which is why I thought, okay, it's due for repotting. And I repotted it, and it just went downhill from there. The roots just were rotting, the leaves were browning, and no matter what I did, it just succumbed to death. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to save it, and it just died. Another sad plant death under my care was an Acer palmatum, and this is the Benny Maiko, which I loved so much. I love the red leaves on it, and since I got this in the fall, it would shed its leaves, which it would normally do, and it did happen. The problem was in spring. So it was bare, right? And I was anticipating that it would grow back this spring, which it did, which I was very, very happy about and really excited for. It was doing so well, but then for some stupid reason, I don't know what I was thinking. Clearly, I was not thinking. I repotted it in a terracotta pot, which is pretty much a big no-no because young Acer palmatums, I have come to realize, really need to stay moist. They don't like drying out. They need to be a bit more mature and more established in order to handle a fully drying out. If you guys don't know, here in Athens, summers are super, super dry. So you can expect that that small terracotta pot would just dry out completely every time. And I wasn't watering it every day because I was scared of overwatering it. But yeah, I just chalk this down to stupidity pretty much, and not knowing the plant care for Acer palmatums. Another plant that died under my care is a jade plant, and this one is the Crassula ovata golum. And I love this plant so much. I have a lot of jade plants. If you've seen my jade plant video, you'll see that I have a lot of them, and they're just so big and luscious. But for some reason, the golem is just, it's just so finicky for some reason. I don't know why. It's not actually my first time growing the Crassula ovata golem. I've had one many, many years back, and unfortunately, it has also died. It just, like what happened to the one I recently bought that died under my care, it just dropped all its leaves. And from what I've read, it is because of overwatering. But I barely even water it anymore. It's even in a terracotta pot, and it still managed to die. So I don't know. I haven't had the best luck with the golem. Speaking of succulents, another succulent that I managed to kill is the baby toes succulent. And this one is such a funky looking succulent, which is why I had bought it. And I also bought this pretty much early on in my indoor plant journey back in 2022. And in my defense, the specimen that I received was, I'm not sure if it was damaged during shipping, or the store gave me a damaged plant. This plant just did not do well, and sadly it has long died. I think one of the problems as well is I was not giving it enough light, and this is a plant that really likes bright indirect light, and I was keeping this indoors. My window and balcony is a northeast orientation, so given that it is northeast, it was also the fall winter season, and I had it indoors, so you can imagine it was just not getting adequate light, I believe, and on top of that, it was already damaged. So it was just not in the with the best conditions. So it succumbed to death. I'm holding my hands off from succulents from now, as my attention is with aeroids right now. Anyways, and the next plant that perished in my care is marigold. Now, this is more of an outdoor plant, and this was back in the middle of summer because I really wanted to pretty much spruce up my balcony, have, you know, some color, have some flowers. I really like seeing butterflies and bees, you know, getting busy in the morning in my balcony. So I wanted to get flowering plants, and I thought that marigolds were a very nice flower, very inexpensive as well. And I think I only had it for like a few weeks, up until just one day, out of nowhere, the two marigolds were engulfed in a web, and it must have had a billion spider mites in there. Like, they were just everywhere on that plant, and you know, mind you, I have not had a spider mite infestation with any of my plants, indoor plants at least. At that point, that was my first experience with spider mite, and it was just from 0 to 100, you know. And as you can imagine, there was just no way saving that plant at that point. And you know, I'm like the type of person that want to try and save at least, but this one was just beyond saving. So I just tossed it away immediately, because I didn't want to risk, you know, the spider mites infesting other plants as well. So yeah, that was a quick journey to the garbage. And the most recent casualties are, actually, I'm not even sure if they're already dead or what happened to them. But remember my philodendron tortum that was not pretty much doing anything for me? Well, the one, because I had separated my philodendron tortums, the one had succumbed to death. Its leaves just dropped out of nowhere. I don't know why. Actually, I do have a suspicion why, but out of nowhere, its leaves just dropped. Like, the leaves didn't even yellow, they just dropped. So the tortum just got bare, and the other one was doing pretty still well. It was in its terracotta pot and still doing it was doing pretty well. About a month later, the leaves just started yellowing, and surely enough, it was dropping its leaves as well. Now, the tortum right now is pretty much bare, except of one leaf that is pretty yellow now. And yeah, I don't know if the plant is alive or what, because it's just a stump pretty much right now. And speaking of stump, the same thing happened for whatever reason to my Philodendron squamiferum. It was also just out of nowhere. Like, this baby squamiferum that I had was just growing. It was growing its leaves. Out of nowhere, it just started dropping its leaves. And right now, it's just a stump. And I'm not sure if it's dead. The stump is still pretty solid. It doesn't feel hollow or squishy. So I don't know. I still have it. I'm still just keeping it in a corner and see if it's going to do anything. But I feel like maybe it's already dead. And I'm not sure why, but my suspicion is it happened because of cold. I think it got shocked from the cold because I had my tordum and my squamiferum in this movable cart, which is right in front of the window. And it is pretty much the window that I would open up every morning so that, you know, I'd get fresh air I'd get fresh air in the morning. Maybe it was the cold, maybe it was the draft. I mean, I wouldn't leave the window open for long, just, you know, just 5 minutes or so. And I have my other philodendrons on that same cart as well. I have my philodendron hastatum and my billietiae, and they are doing perfectly fine. So I don't know, maybe because these are a bit younger plants, or maybe they were just a weaker specimen, and so they couldn't tolerate the cold, and so they went into shock. I don't know. That's just my suspicion of what caused them to suddenly deteriorate. But yeah, very sad. I hope they haven't croaked and died, but I feel like maybe they have already. But we'll see. Well, I'll keep them around and see maybe if this spring it comes back alive. Hopefully they do. Those are the plants that have died under my care, and hopefully we don't add more to that. I guess the important thing is to, you know, learn from those experiences and not to be hard on ourselves. Though I am being hard on myself about getting another Syngonium, but anyways. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. So if any of you have had plants die under your care, you are not alone. I'm definitely with you. Until next time, take care of yourselves, you guys. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.